the way, Fritz Kling running in the number 2 position. Crevier, the Canadian, the reigning Superbike champion from Canada, holding the number 3 slot.
He starts to challenge Kling as Sadowski gets a little bit of an advantage. Down to the inside, Crevier crashing by to take over second place.
Crevier has been red hot. I don't think, though, on this last lap that we've heard the last of Fritz Kling. And look, Kling getting a good drive. He got the inside line. He moves past Crevier to take second, but they're not going to catch Sadowski. He's going to take the checkered flag. They're in the final corner. Checkered flag waves. It's Sadowski. Then comes Kling and Crevier in that order.
Michael Martin in 4th place. A late braking maneuver by Christian Gardner will get him into 5th place ahead of Donald Jacks in 6th as we wrap up leg number 1.
And we're going to come back and do it all over again in leg number 2. There's a look at a mighty happy Dave Sadowski. This guy is unbelievable. Here are the results. Sadowski, Kling, Crevier, Martin, Gardner, and Jacks in that order. Let's go to the pits and Dave Sadowski.
Well, the first couple laps didn't go according to plan. I was wanting to just be gone from the pack, and Lee Schertz did a wheelie and came across my path and sort of boggled me, and took me 2 laps to get clear of the slower guys, and then saw Fritz Kling out front, and he's riding real smooth, and didn't make too many mistakes, so I said, hey, you better get going here and get around him, because Crevier was chasing me, and he's a fierce competitor, and just feels great to have a victory here finally in 1992.
And an exciting victory at Moto Liberty Formula 3 race. Interesting little motorcycle, and racing them, some very interesting people. Nancy Delgado.
I learned how to ride in New York City, so I figured if I could take it just to a racetrack after being on the streets there, I could do okay. It took a while.
Now, what we are going to show you are highlights from the Moto Liberty Formula 3 race that was held earlier today. That's young Nicky Hayden. He's in 2nd place in the standings. There's his older brother, Tommy Hayden. And Tommy Rich, just 1 year ago, won this class.
But he won it as a novice, and you're not allowed to carry the number 1 plate if you win as a novice. The green flag just about ready to go on this Moto Liberty Formula 3.
Watch these guys pedal when the green flag does drop. It's hard to get a lot of power right off the line on a 125. They're geared, I think, more for the long straightaways here at Road Atlanta, so they have to do a little bit of pushing. Michael Barnes, right off the bat, he's taken the lead in this one.
He took the lead very early in this one. He also won the event earlier at Moroso Motorsport Park, and he stretches it out here on lap number 1. A real scramble going on back in the field as the riders make their way by turn number 5.
Most of the riders out here are of the same ability, I think we could say, and certainly the motorcycles are evenly matched. Now watch what is going to happen to Michael Barnes. You're going to see a shot of a hilltop. It's coming up here, and you'll just see some feet over the top of the hill. We were looking for Barnes' motorcycle to crest that hill, but it never made it. Feet, sky, arms, and Barnes is off the bike. He took a tumble, and he had a huge lead when he did that.
Jonathan Cornwell takes over the lead with Doug Carmichael right on his back wheel as they battle down the hill. In 3rd place, it's Michael Himmelsbach.
And Carmichael, with 32 points, is ahead in the championship standings going into this, the final round. Right behind him, Nicky Hayden, a young man, 12 years old. There's a shot of Barnes. He's off the racetrack now. We caught up with him in the pits and asked him what happened.
Yeah, I was just trying to get a nice, comfortable pace going. I guess I was going a little too hard. It's still a little moist and cold out on the track, and I lost the front end pretty bad going down the S's a lap before I crashed, and I saved it miraculously, and then came around the next lap, and the turn before that, I just lost the front end, and my hand got caught underneath the handlebar, so it got a little tore up. Might have broken a finger, but besides that, everything was going great up until then.
Meanwhile, back on the racetrack, everything is going great for Jonathan Cornwell, the Canadian dirt track champ. He learned his trade sliding it around on dirt ovals, but he learned it well, Rich.
He had a great battle on his hands with Doug Carmichael, who pressured him all the way. In 3rd place, Mike Himmelsbach on his birthday present. His family gave him a ride on a 125. He did very well. Nancy Delgado just outside the top 10 in the final results on the number 102 machine. Nicky Hayden, number 29, and number 501, Rod Fee, battled almost the entire way in the Moto Liberty Formula 3 event.
I think one of the things that makes this 125 class so unique in such tight racing is all of the motorcycles are pretty much the same. Now, Tommy Hayden, rider number 9, unlike his brother, found no one to race with. He circulated almost the entire event all by himself.
Came in 6th place behind Fee and his brother Nicky. Here's your race winner, Jonathan Cornwell, number 49, taking the victory.
And right behind him comes Doug Carmichael. He finishes in the number 2 position. That's good enough to win him the championship in this Moto Liberty Formula 3 class. Mike Himmelsbach finished in the number 3 slot. All in all, great racing. Let's go to John Cornwell.
When Mike Barnes got off to a real good start, I thought, oh, you know, he's going to run off with it, and I didn't know whether Doug Carmichael and myself were going to be able to draft up and catch up to him. But then I realized that we were actually catching him, and I thought, okay, it's going to take a little while, but at least we'll be able to catch up to him. And then when he crashed, I thought, oh, good, you know, I got a pretty good chance at, you know, coming out on top on this thing. And fortunately for myself, I kind of put my head down towards the last part of the race, and I just said, go for it, and just held her to the stop most of the way around.
And our congratulations to John Cornwell. Coming up, the AirTech Formula 2 250cc Grand Prix action. Metzler-Wira Grand National Finals. Now, earlier today, the Formula 2, the AirTech Formula 2 class, featuring 250cc Grand Prix machines, held a race to determine that championship. And a talented field it was, Rich.
Very talented field, and getting a great start from row 2. It was Richie Oliver. He took the immediate lead going into turn number 1.
Oliver has not had the best of luck in this 250cc class this year. He's the defending Formula USA champ. Chris DeLucio, rider number 2, is the only rider really sticking with Oliver, and they're number 1, the defending 250 champ, Donnie Green. But really there was no one keeping Oliver in sight at this stage of the ball game.
So Oliver just lit the afterburners right at the start and took off. DeLucio tried to stay with him. A good 5-rider pack right behind them, but Oliver was gone early on.
He was. I mentioned earlier he had not had the best of luck, so he was not in the championship hunt. Now, at this point, DeLucio was drawing closer and closer, but that was not going to last.
Now, DeLucio got in a big slide and kind of lost his heart. He just backed out and decided to settle for second place. That allowed Bruce Baldus, number 46, on the Hall and Still Yamaha to close in.
And still Donnie Green is giving it everything. He's in that number 2 position, and depending on how things might work out with the points leader, Kurt Hall, who was back in the pack, Green had a shot at the championship.
Number 45, defending AMA champion Colin Edwards with Jonathan Cornwell. That was probably one of the best races of this event.
Meanwhile, Baldus had gotten by Chris DeLucio, but here comes DeLucio right back, and he moves back into the number 2 position. That's the spot that he was going to hold from that point all the way to the checkered flag. Baldus is going to end up finishing 3rd, but this guy, Rich Oliver, what can you say? He was just rockets away.
Nobody was going to catch Richie Oliver here today. He had something to prove, trying to look for a deal for next year. And I think he put a punchline on his 92 season here at Road Atlanta.
I'll tell you what, if I had myself a 250 and I wanted someone to ride it, that's the guy I would pick. Coming down the wire, there's the battle with Edwards.
And Cornwell, boy, what a scrap they had. Almost the entire event back and forth, with Jonathan Cornwell coming up just a little bit short right at the finish line. It was very, very close racing there, Larry.
Indeed it was. They're rocketing down that final straightaway now, or the final lap, rather, headed for the checkered flag. There's Oliver. He's going to take the checkers. He wins it in a lapper. He was easily a full straightaway ahead of the rest of the field when that one finished. Oliver had this to say about that race, and we caught up with him in the pits.
It was a great race. Chris was giving me a hard time there at the beginning, and I just kept my head down and kept charging, and I knew how to fast bike, and it was handling well, so it was just a matter of running the kind of pace I know I can run, and it worked out, luckily.
Worked out indeed. That burst to victory moved Rich Oliver up 1 notch into 4th place in the season championship standings. Bruce Baldus was 3rd, Don Green 2nd. Kurt Hall wins the title, and we'll be right back.
If you like motors,
Atlanta, and we're at championship racing. You know, in the early days of racing, the name of the game was horsepower. The theory was, I think, the more you could get out of it, the better off you were. But what happened was we ended up with more horsepower than could actually be used on the motorcycle. So racers had to look elsewhere to gain the speed, like in aerodynamics.
We redesigned the bearings for aerodynamics, and with a lot of the super sport race bikes, they need to run stock appearing bodywork, so we'll take the heavy OEM plastic bodywork off and replace it with lightweight AirTech bodywork, so that way not only is it more affordable and a lot lighter, but it's also repairable.
Now, if you're really serious, and most of the folks that run on this WERA championship circuit are, you look to carbon fiber. It's very, very expensive, but in the eyes of most of the riders, it's well worth it.
The advantages over using carbon fiber and aluminum or titanium is the strength of the material that's used and the weight difference between regular fiberglass and steel bolts or other type of nuts and bolts. The carbon fiber and aluminum, you can remove about 10 pounds off the machine, which equals horsepower at the end of the straightaway.
So you got horsepower, you got aerodynamics, and you've got lightweight material. You still have to make it handle.
It's come down to a very intricate science, changing for each rider from track to track. The setup varies every time. That's why you wind up having a shock like this. What you've got is gas pressurized remote reservoir shock absorber, which can be adjusted for the spring, the rebound dampening, which controls how fast it extends, the compression dampening, which controls how fast it compresses, and also the shock is adjustable for length to control the ride height. All these variables add up to completely different performance on the motorcycle from track to track.
So let's sum it up. We started with a massive horsepower. We made it aerodynamically sound. We lightened it up with some trick material. Then we put on great suspension parts to make it handle. What do we do now? We're going back to the diner to get some more ponies out of this thing. What else? Rich, we're going to take a look back now at another race that took place earlier that really doesn't require all of the ponies. They try to maybe diminish the horsepower a little bit. This is endurance racing.
Endurance racing is exactly that, the art of enduring, to take a motorcycle and take it out and run it for 4 hours at near its limit and still bring it home at the checkered flag.
Of course, because they are running 4 hours, that's the reason they do not need or want all of that horsepower. You put that entire machine together to run as fast as it possibly can. It's like a time bomb between your legs. They want these things to last. Now, Team Suzuki has been the dominant team all season, as for that matter, all year long, but they had some tight competition in this one.
Yeah, back in Indianapolis, they saw the Gold Hill Racing Yamaha take the win there. Gold Hill was back for another try along with the AMA Endurance Champion, Dutchman Racing number 7.
This turned out to be one of the best endurance racings by anyone's calculations that we've ever seen. First team to feel the heat and suffer problems, Dutchman Racing. Scott Zampak is going to get off the motorcycle, and you'll see him gesturing to the crew back there. Some kind of problems, he says, with the handling of the thing. Tommy Lynch is going to get back on the Dutchman bike, head back out to the track. We'll listen in to Scott Zampak, see what he says.
Whoa! Tried to go down the hill. I couldn't even ride it, and like 600s passed me down the hill, so I knew we had a serious chassis problem. I mean, I was running. You could see how hard I was running the corners. But if you can't hold it wide open from the bump all the way down that hill and up the hill, you know what I'm saying?
Dutchman knew what he was saying, all right. Look at the look on Keith Perry's face. He is the crew chief for Team Suzuki. They didn't come around when they were supposed to. Rich Chambers was on hand.
Problems for Team Suzuki, are running out of gas on the course. Kurt Hall has pushed the bike into the pit area, and now the crew go to work to refuel the motorcycle. They're not sure if that's going to be able to cure the motorcycle. They fired up. The bike has fired back up, but where's the other rider? Michael Martin trying to make his way up to the area where the motorcycle is, but the bike now being ridden by the mechanic down to the pit area. So I wonder what the designation will be. They refueled at the very end of pit road, and now they drive down to the Team Suzuki pit area where Michael Martin finally climbs on the machine.
It started burbling coming out of 5, and I thought, please just get me down to the back straightaway where I could coast into the pits, and didn't coast that far. I had to push about halfway down the back straightaway, and I like riding them a lot better than I like pushing them, that's for sure.
So while all that pushing was going on, number 31, Gold Hill Yamaha took the lead. It was going to be short-lived. Here's Rich Chambers.
The Fritz Kling machine with Gardner riding now will turn it back over to Kling. The crew go to work refueling the machine. They'll go to work on the rear of the motorcycle. The tire representatives checking over the front tire. They go to the rear of the bike to change the rear wheel. Very quick work as the crew replace the rear wheel here along pit road. The axle just about ready to go back in. They've been on pit road about 15 seconds.
That 15 seconds turned into an eternity. They couldn't get the rear axle safety wired properly, so they sent the motorcycle back out on the track without it being safety wired. Rich Chambers caught up with the official.
Properly safety wired the rear axle.
So what are you going to do?
Bring him in.
And bring them in they did. The lead that Gold Hill Yamaha had enjoyed was gone. They swallowed it up in the pits. They had to come back in, put the safety wire into that rear axle. Rich, in endurance racing, safety is first.
Safety is first indeed. They had a clip that they secured the rear axle nut with, but it broke off. They're having to take a lot of time to get the safety wire back in the same hole. Finally, they get it fired and head back out on the racetrack.
Now, through all of that, the Team Suzuki effort had taken back the #1 position. However, they were not going to hold it because, well, mechanical problems have been the order of the day. Let's find one more. Mike Martin looking behind him. Now he's signaling that he's going to pull off. And Martin having trouble with a big Suzuki on the racetrack. Comes to a stop, looks the motorcycle over. See all that smoke blowing? That's the cooling system.
Well, it's actually the oil cooling system. They cracked an oil cooler, and it was leaking oil on the motorcycle. He limps it back in the pit area.
Keith Perry just standing there smiling. We've seen that look a couple of times today. They're going to take a look at the bike, and the end result is going to be, hey, this one is virtually non-fixable. They're going to push it behind a wall and say goodbye to that effort. However, Suzuki has two bikes running.
Yeah, the number 34 machine, the other Team Suzuki entry, took over as the flagship for Team Suzuki, and they put Michael Martin and Kurt Hall on that number 34 machine, and after some quick work, they were back in the lead.
Now, we might point out, though, that at that point in time, they were way off the pace, and the pace at that time was back in the hands of Gold Hill Yamaha.
But Gold Hill Yamaha had to make an extra stop for gas, and that turned the lead back over to Team Suzuki, who went on to win the endurance race here this afternoon.
And one of the most exciting endurance races, as I said earlier, that anyone has seen anywhere. There's Kurt Hall. He's spraying the bubbly and having a good time, and why not? So Team Suzuki wins the national championship as well as the race out here today. We talked about safety. Rich Chambers earlier took a look at some of the rider apparel.
Down in the pit area, looking at the safety equipment the riders use in races here this race weekend. Of course, a long time ago, a denim pair of pants and a leather skull cap was all that protected the rider. Now the equipment has really evolved into some very, very beautiful ventilation-controlled helmets. It controls the air through the helmet as the rider is racing. The leathers, in addition to being leather, a very tough variety, there are pads in both the shoulders, elbows, and in the gloves. The leather gloves themselves have additional studs to protect the rider should he slide along the pavement at high speed. On the rider's back, his spine is protected by an articulated piece of equipment that really saves the rider's spine should there be a serious accident. Padding down the thigh and the knee portion of the leathers also protect the rider, in addition to the Teflon button, sort of a curb feeler for the racers as they circulate the racetrack and negotiate the corners. Also the boots with additional padding and the duct tape, which is so much a part of safety equipment for the racer. That's the way riders protect themselves while racing here at the WERA National Final.
The 1992 WERA Grand National Final is brought to you by Metzler Tire. Putting the power where it belongs. Metzler, feel the difference.
Bullets game and WERA Championship Racing. Now behind me, the riders in the Formula USA class have assembled in the staging area. Now that race will be underway very shortly. Now the unique thing about Formula USA is it's run what you brung. There are 250s, there are 750s, there are 1100s. There's even one monster in this field that's like 1,340 cc's. Let's take a look at the mixture in this class.
This bike started out as a drag race engine I built in the off-season when I was hurt in '90. And at the beginning of the season, I put it in my road race frame and took it out to Willow for the Formula USA to see how it would work. And I think it was such a blast to ride. And I got second on it that I decided to campaign the whole series on it. It's some tracks it has too much horsepower. Road Atlanta thing loves it, you know. There's no substitute for horsepower.
Well, that opinion is not shared by all riders. Rich Chambers is standing by to look at the other end of the spectrum.
Defending Formula USA champion Richard Oliver has chosen a TZ250 to defend his title in 1992. Richard, why have you chosen the 250?
Well, you know, 250 has a lot of advantages out there on the track compared to the big Formula USA bikes. It's a lot lighter, it's a lot easier on its tires, and I've been able to run competitive lap times at almost every track, so I'm happy that's what I'm riding.
Check it out. Same two riders, end of the first Formula USA leg. On the inside, shirts, 340 cc's, the 250 on the outside, and David slew Goliath. Well, that was leg number one. We're coming up on the second leg of this Formula USA. Fritz Kling looks confident.
Confident that he can take the win here. He's going to have to. David Sadowski winning the first segment. He'll have to hold off the likes of Steve Crevier, who finished third in leg number one. Just about set to go with the second of our Formula USA events.
The board's up. The green flag is going to drop. This one will be underway. Fog has lifted slightly here at Road Atlanta. There's still a slight... Here they go, headed toward corner number one. Who gets the jump?
David Sadowski with an excellent launch from the pole position holds the front the end of a tight pack of racers into turn number 1 here on the first of 10 laps.
Sadowski and Kling were the two guys in the first leg of this Formula USA class that provided all of the action, along with Crevier. We're still looking for the likes of Mike Martin, Chuck Graves, who went out in that first leg, and of course Donald Jacks, who stands to win the championship here today. All he has to do is finish.
Donald Jacks with a much better start this time, up into 5th place as they go 3 wide for 2nd place. Right out in front of the field, though, David Sadowski holding the point position early on.
Sadowski said in between races that if he got the whole shot, that this leg was going to be different. He says, I'm going to lead it from wire to wire. I'm sure there's some riders behind him that are going to have something to say about that. The field already beginning to string out, Rich.
Fritz Kling closing it up in the braking area up to the Nissan bridge. He'll dive underneath David Sadowski and take over the lead. Sadowski 2nd, Crevier 3rd, Graves in 4th, and Donald Jackson 5th place.
Jacks, of course, just trying to hold it together. He stands to win the Wira Championship in his Formula USA class. All he has to do is finish this race, and he's got it in the bag. Martin had a chance coming in. Color, his chance is gone, unless a lot of very peculiar circumstances happen the next few laps.
A lot of banging and slamming going on back in the field as they sort themselves out here on lap number 2. As they work their way across the top of the hill. One retiree already. Scotty Zampak, number 88, didn't make a single lap. He's rolling back behind pit wall.
We'll color him gone. Let's go back to the track. Kling still out front. Crevier has moved to the number 2 position. That puts Sadowski, rider number 25, into the number 3 slot. Crevier is really on the gas. There goes Crevier. He takes the inside line. He cuts across the front of Kling, and he takes over the number 1 spot. A great move, Rich.
Great move indeed. Side by side, they race down this straightaway, headed to the little dip they call Gravity Cavity. They're still side by side as they race into the 160-mile-an-hour drop away. That allows the bikes behind them to close it up and make a 4-rider freight train for the lead.
It gets no better than this. When you look at that pack of riders, all contesting the number 1 position. Kling has it now. Crevier back in 2nd, and it's still Sadowski in the number 3 spot.
Kling making that Yamaha as wide as possible as Crevier continues to knock on the door. Now Donald Jacks moving up to 3rd place. He wants a piece of Crevier as well as they work off into turn 1.
Now that surprises me that Jacks would allow himself to get sucked into some kind of a battle here, because Jacks needs to concentrate on finishing. That's all he has to do. He'll have the championship sewn up.
It's not a thing that you would want to do, though, to win a championship and not be part of the front 4. Kling holding on, but here comes Crevier. Again, block passing down to the inside. He gets a little bit wide. That allows the number 31 machine to pull back almost even as they race to turn 6. Crevier able to hold it on as they work to turn 6, the front 4 running nose to tail.
Well, if Jacks pitches it away, I'll bet you he'll rethink that, and I think he'll think that it was the thing to do, to stay back and to take that championship without contesting. In any event, a racer is a racer. That's what happens, Rich, when they get out on a racetrack. They want to pass whoever's in front of them, and we have had a lot of that type action in this 2nd leg of the Formula USA class. Crevier leading it. It's still in the number 2 position, Fritz Kling, then Sadowski. Donald Jacks has moved to the number 4 slot, and look at this. They are still looking and fencing, feeling each other out, looking for new lines around this racetrack. Where can I make a pass?
The top 4 machines have pulled clear of 5th place now. It's dropping back dramatically. Still Crevier, your leader. Fritz Kling trying to find a way around the crafty Canadian. Donald Jacks back up to 3rd. Sadowski watching all the action from 4th place.
Sadowski is being the coy one here. He's watching the lines of the 3 riders in front of him, and I have to think that he's going to school.
While he's just kind of checking out the lines and finding out where their weak points are and where his strong points are, there's Crevier with a problem. Crevier not going as quick as he was. Some kind of problem has dropped him back to 3rd.
Crevier appeared to be uncomfortable that last go-round, and look, now he's pulling off to the side of the track, and he let Sadowski pass him. Crevier appears to be, he's holding up his hand. Crevier is out of this one. Can you believe that stroke of bad luck for that young Canadian?
Tough break for Steve Crevier. Moving up into 4th place, Christian Gardner. We'll be right back after this break for the finale, Formula USA.
When we left you, Steve Crevier had just pulled off the racetrack after leading. He's in the pits. Let's hear what he had to say about his problem.
You know, I thought I'd go out this time and give it everything I got, and I was trying real hard. You know, this track's really bumpy and really aggressive. Tires working good, bike was excellent, but through all the bumps and everything, hard braking, I tore a handlebar off, so I'm short a handlebar, so I've never had it happen, so I guess that's the brakes, and hopefully we'll get back here next year for the same thing and come away a winner.
Steve Crevier can count his lucky stars. He was not pitched on his head when that bar broke. Meanwhile, back to the track, a two-rider battle for the number 1 slot. Sadowski passes Kling, takes over the number 1 position.
Right back in the draft, though, will try to retaliate. They race side by side into Gravity Cavity. Kling with a better line from the outside of the racetrack, pulls it right across the front wheel of Sadowski and takes back over the lead.
These riders are using every inch of this Road Atlanta track. One of them, of course, making sure that he's keeping the other one behind him. The other guy looking for whatever opportunity might present itself to slide underneath, to slide to the outside. They're just all over this place. What great racing.
A good battle going on for second place as well. Donald Jacks and Christian Gardner, number 59 and number 35, having their own war for third and fourth place.
Not to belabor the point, but Donald Jacks has this championship wrapped up. You're not going to see him, I don't think you will anyhow, risking life or limb to make a pass on this one. Here we go. We're down into the final laps, and it was still Kling out front, Sadowski running in second, and running in a number 3 position. It was Donald Jacks and Christian Gardner in fourth.
Christian Gardner, Fritz Kling's teammate, running a very fine fourth place here late in this event. But here is where Sadowski always gets close to Kling. He gets a better drive out of turn 7 each and every time. He gets right in the draft of Kling and pops out of the draft and grabs the lead.
And he's doing it one more time. Sadowski seems to have that part of the track wired. Now let's see if it holds true to fashion, and if Kling is able to use that draft maneuver to get around the outside of Sadowski one more time, and he does.
A double slingshot pass on the back straightaway, and Kling's back in front when they come to the Nissan Bridge. Sadowski taking that bit of information and filing it here as we work the final lap or so for the USA final.
These riders are letting it all hang out. That's what the term means. The white flag. We're on the last lap, the last go-round. It's going to boil down to this. Who can hang on, who can hang it out, and who can take the checkered flag?
Donald Jacks, number 59 in third. Christian Gardner, number 35 in fourth. In fifth place, number 21, Lee Schertz, followed in sixth by number 96, Michael Martin. Final lap on the track. Fritz Kling trying to hang on to the lead. Sadowski trying to get close. They go hard braking into turn number 5. Less than 2 lengths separating first and second.
Now this is where Sadowski had been doing all the damage, but he's hanging back this time.
Sadowski just trying to get close enough to make a last lap charge at Kling, the race leader. They're into turn 6, up to turn 7 for the final time. Fritz Kling really protecting the inside of the course.
I think Sadowski is holding off on that pass attempt because in earlier laps when he made the pass, Kling was able to come right back and repass him to regain that spot. So now, if Sadowski is making one last-ditch effort, here he goes to the outside. He's going to cut across the front of Kling. He takes the lead, but Kling, he had the momentum, and he just continued right on the outside of Sadowski, and he regains the number 1 spot.
Fritz Kling late braking, using traffic to his advantage. Sadowski tries back to the inside. Kling right across his front wheel. Sadowski's got to go the long way around, and Kling will take the victory with Sadowski taking a close second place.
He had eyes in the back of his head. He saw Sadowski coming, and he just put his motorcycle where Sadowski wanted to be. What a tremendously great race here in leg number 2. We'll be back right after this. Atlanta just moments ago, Fritz Kling won the second round of the Formula USA class. Here he is on his victory lap. Fritz is with me now in victory circle.
Was there ever once, Fritz, that you knew you had it in the bag?
Oh, never once I did. Ski just kept coming after me every time. It was great. Oh.
You ever been involved in a more dramatic race than that one?
Oh, not as big as this, no. This is the biggest one I've ever been in right here.
What do you thought?
Oh, I'm happy it's over, and I'm happy I won. I want to thank the crew and my dad, my wife. Oh, it's just a great weekend. I've had Gold Hill Racing just helped me out so much this year. It's just been an excellent year for me.
Here are the results of the Formula USA class. Kling wins it. Sadowski finishes second. Donald Jacks, though, wrapped up the World Championship in the Formula USA class.
It's great. Glad to hear. It's been a great day for me. Don't have any close calls. All my races went really good. Suzuki bike worked great. Thanks a lot.
And now you're the national champ.
Oh, it feels wonderful.
After 7 months and 8 races, Donald Jacks is indeed the national champ. Michael Martin finished in the number 2 position, then Chuck Graves, Lee Schertz, and Fritz Kling. One other runner-up for grabs this weekend from Motorcyclist Magazine, and most appropriate. It's titled Motorcyclist of the Race. Rich Oliver gets it for his dominant performance in the AirTech Formula 2 finale. Way to go, Rich.
And with that, another WERA Championship Series comes to an end, and Richard, what an end it was.
It was a matter of inches. It could have gone either way. Fritz Kling pulled it out, but David Sadowski certainly has nothing to be ashamed of.
I'll echo those sentiments 100%. For Richard, we're saying so long from Road Atlanta. We'll see you next year on the WERA Pro Series circuit.
In the 1992 Metz-WERA Grand Final, Metzler Tire putting the power where it belongs. Metzler.
That was Jeff Rocky Baby, the Disney baby come to life with a magazine light show. For nursery tunes to entertain baby, press a color bumper for a surprise. Disney go round. Disney. Makes you can believe in.
I can't secret. So when I heard Lipton Recipe, we changed the name to Lipton Recipe Secrets because it makes